And a U.S. senator barged into the room. All we could hear was bits and pieces of what he said, but we know that he was eventually detained. The idea that he was arrested, I guess, is being changed now to the language temporarily detained. But this is the moment Senator Padilla.
Because the fact of the matter is, a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to hands off. All right, so what I can tell you there is that we had a producer right outside the room who witnessed that all go down, saying he was shoved to the floor. He was cuffed by the FBI there. This is Senator Padilla. But John just speaks to the escalating tensions there. Apparently, he was at the congressional baseball game last night. He pulled out early to go back to California, where obviously he made it because we saw him there. The governor is responding already to that scene, John. Governor Newsom has posted this. Senator Padilla is one of the most decent people I know. This is outrageous, he says, and shameful. Trump and his shock troops, he writes, are out of control. This must end now. So that happened.
Yep, not quite sure the point that he was making there, but Kristi Noem was up at the podium along with the acting ICE director, the U.S. attorney, and others who've been talking about quelling the riots in Los Angeles, and they seem to have successfully done that. The arrests of some of the nefarious people that have gone on. And so I don't know, was Padilla there to protest the enforcement of the law? Was he there to protest law and order? I'm not quite sure. But why don't we put that to an expert in law enforcement? Let's bring in Alex Villanueva. He is the former Los Angeles County Sheriff. I don't know if you had a chance, Alex, to listen to all of that, but Governor Newsom is standing firmly behind Senator Padilla. What do you think of what happened there?
That was a lot of virtue signaling and fake outrage. I'm not buying it at all. I think the position from Secretary Noem was right on the money. This is a federal operation, and the sad thing is that all the people that she listed that she thanked, she did not include local law enforcement because they failed in their job to come to the rescue of ICE when they were under assault. And that's just an embarrassment for local law enforcement.
Yeah, she said that it took a couple of hours after the federal building was surrounded by several hundred, if not 1,000 or more protesters. It took a couple of hours for the LAPD to come in. But then the LAPD chief said that they were overwhelmed, which is right after that, President Trump decided, look, I'm going to send in the National Guard to protect the federal facilities. That'll take some of the pressure off of the LAPD. And that's when Gavin Newsom hit the roof.
Yes, he did. And then part of that, I mean, there is a staffing crisis with the LAPD, with the Sheriff's Department, historical staffing crisis with both of them. So they don't have the huge numbers to muster like we had in 2020. So they could have been the ones that called in the National Guard to come supplement their forces and to come to the aid of ICE, but they chose to sit on their hands shamefully, and now you have the result they have. Now they're complaining that they don't have control over the National Guard resource anymore. Well, that's on them.
So we understand that the DHS Secretary, Kristi Noem, is meeting with Senator Padilla right now. We hope to get some intelligence out of what they talked about after that meeting is over. But let's talk about what's going on in L.A. You've got Gavin Newsom saying that this is a usurpation of democracy, the fact that Donald Trump federalized the National Guard, as Lyndon Johnson did back in 1965 in Alabama, and that this really is it's the old Democratic card of it's a threat to democracy. Do you see it that way?
No, actually quite the opposite. This is about the rule of law. Just like in 1965, when Wallace was refusing to comply with the Supreme Court's orders to desegregate the schools, that's when they nationalized the National Guard. They brought them in to do exactly what the Supreme Court said, this is the law of the land. Now, fast forward to 2025, and the sanctuary policies that Governor Newsom and Mayor Bass want to enforce is trying to nullify, again, federal law. It's not to be. So it's very appropriate to nationalize the National Guard when the local law enforcement and the governor refuses to use them as intended.
So we also hear complaints from politicians there, Democratic politicians in California and elsewhere across the country, that it was Donald Trump bringing in the National Guard that touched off all of these riots. But your successor, Robert Luna, has said, you know, this smacks of a certain sense of organization to it. Listen to what he said.
All of us up here are looking to see if there is a conspiracy of some kind, organization. There is some evidence we've seen that I don't want to share at this time.
I don't know if you have any intelligence on what that evidence might be, but certainly it was there for all to see when that black pickup truck pulled up to the intersection in the midst of all of those demonstrators and started handing out face shields. The person apparently responsible for that, whose name is Alejandra Orellana, is under arrest. Bill O'Saley talked about that, and here we see pictures of this going on. I mean, this does seem to suggest, Sheriff, a certain sense of organization to this, if not outright agitation.
Oh, there is. If you look at SCIU, the employee union, you look at the CHIRLAV, Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights Los Angeles, both of those organizations have a thing called the Rapid Response Network. And they're literally devoted to discovering when there's an ICE operation and to flood the area with activists to try to interfere with the ICE operation. That's now switching from righteous civil protests into interfering and obstructing justice. And that is criminal. So it is very appropriate. But Elmer Fudd is not going to find it, Sheriff Luna. He had the chance to actually be involved as a mutual aid coordinator for LA, and he chose to sit on his hands just like the chief did. And unfortunately, this investigation will have to be handled by the federal government, which I have more faith in at this point than I do the sheriff's department.
All right. Well, they do seem to be working the feds very hard at this, and they're getting some action. Sheriff, it's good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.